Very dramatic and very inhumane policy.
Hideous and unpopular policy.
Zero tolerance policy.
The U.S. military is preparing to indefinitely hold entire families following President Trump's executive order ending the separation of children from their parents at the border.
It's child abuse being perpetrated by a government.
Blatantly cruel.
Human tragedy.
To now detain families in jails for an indefinite time.
Inhumane detention.
People in detention facilities are kept in cages. They are prisons. They are not meant for children and families.
The first room I walked into was the toddler room. And the first thing I saw was a little 18-month-old girl who was just sobbing and inconsolable and crying, and her little fists were banging the carpet that she was on. I was devastated and felt so helpless. These babies were crying and upset.
Initially, I thought that I would be able to handle the situation well. I feel that after years of practice in pediatrics, even in very difficult situations, that I was mentally and emotionally prepared to see what I saw. I had some nightmares, actually, just thinking about the children, especially the very young children.
So it's certainly a relief that the harmful policy of separating children and families who are seeking refuge is ending. Locking children up, even with their families, in these detention facilities has long-lasting effects on their brains and on their bodies, affecting their development, affecting their emotional health, affecting their risk of diseases as adults even. They're forced to sleep on concrete floors, the temperatures are kept extremely cold.
If the brain is disrupted by toxic stress, you will see children who will not do well in school. They will drop out of school. They relieve their pain by smoking, drinking alcohol, doing drugs. They often become part of our prison system.
We see the brains of children changing. Their brain architecture actually changes as a part of their toxic stress response.
We see children with gross motor delays. We see children who may look like they're on the autism spectrum.
Well after they've been released, we can see these long-term effects from what may have even been a short time in detention, 2 days, 20 days, regardless of the amount of time. There's no time that's considered safe or okay or acceptable for these kids. So long-term, that means concerns around behavior and learning. That can mean higher risk of anxiety and depression, and then higher risk of diseases like cardiovascular disease, heart disease, diabetes, even higher risk of certain cancers. For kids, especially young kids, they don't always understand why bad things are happening and sometimes assume that it's their fault.
I did have the experience of seeing one of these immigration advocates having to talk to a 2-year-old about know your rights, and that was heartbreaking. These children don't understand what we're saying to them.
So locking up innocent children and their parents is not making us safer. I'm a pediatrician, but I'm also a mother. I have a 3-year-old child, and I cannot imagine being separated from her forcibly.
There was a feeling of desperation and of profound sadness that we knew how to help them and that it wasn't happening. That our government sanctioned this behavior, which really amounted to government-sanctioned child abuse.